Ooh.
Welcome everyone to the CorinCon Cubed. That's CorinCon continuing content. Yes, I'm still just going with it. We're back. Our last interview was with Rob J. Hayes. Today's interview is with the award-winning Darian Smith, and he's live with us from New Zealand. And we are going to talk about a bunch of random stuff and maybe a little bit about books because,
Random stuff is fun.
Random stuff is more fun, though. I feel like so many author interviews wind up being all about writing and books and stuff. And so you kind of, if you've done one author interview, you've done them all to a degree. And I want to talk about more interesting things about you as a person rather than just about writing. We will also talk about writing.
That's scary.
Yeah, sorry. I did warn you. I sent you the questions, right?
You did, yeah. Was I supposed to read those?
It's your choice. You don't have to. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and shift you over here so I can see those questions, the aforementioned questions. And we can, if you like, we can just sort of dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go crazy.
Go crazy. Let's go crazy. Anybody else friends? Okay. So the very first question I have for you, Darian, because of course I Facebook stalk people in order to get these questions, and so it very much depends on like what your Facebook history is like as to how these questions will go.
You stalked deep too, looking at some of these questions.
I did, yeah. I went back because the thing is, if you just look at your photos, because you click on the photo album. This is the key, right? You have to scroll through the feed. I don't want to read all the posts you actually made, but if I just go through the photo album, it only shows photos regardless. And so, you don't have to go that far back to see pictures that you posted in like 2008. So,
Stalking 101. This is
that's right. Yes.
Stalking tips here, people.
I feel I should add for those watching at home that I am friends with all the people I've interviewed so far. So I've actually it's not too stalkerish to just go back
consensual stalking.
Yeah, I mean, like you friended me on Facebook, which means I get to see your photos. So I didn't create a fake account and pretend I was your aunt, and then it was nothing underhanded. No. But here we are. We're still in quarantine days. Well, we are. New Zealand isn't anymore. You guys are free because you manage things well. Congrats on that.
Yeah. We're very lucky.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I guess we're kind of quarantined away from the rest of the world because our borders.
Right, which is legit. Honestly, just keep that going forever. Yeah. I mean,
we'll just let you guys sort your stuff out, and we're just going to carry on.
A perfectly reasonable stance at this point. So yeah, but the rest of us are still in quarantine time. So Facebook stalking is one of the only ways to really get to know people. So that's what I did. I took a deep dive through your old photos, and I noticed that you have a large collection of lovely cosplay photos, and some of them. A couple of them you're in, but a lot of them you aren't. And so what event was this? It might have been more than one, but I've noticed that there were a few of them. A couple of them looked like they were all in the same place, but with different groups of people. Where are they? They're fabulous cosplay photos, which I always love seeing.
I'm not a particularly good cosplayer at all, but I really admire cosplay. I think it's awesome. And so I go to a lot of pop culture expos, basically, to sell my books. So there's one here in New Zealand called Armageddon, and that happens in 4 or 5 different major cities throughout the year. And there's another one in Australia, which is similar, called Supernova, which happens in 6 of the major cities. So I tend to go to all of those, or as many of them as I can.
The con circuit, nice.
Exactly. So yeah, it's lots of fun, and I get to sell books and talk to people who have read my books, and I get to see all the cosplay, and I'm like, that's amazing, come here, let me take your photo. So yeah, basically my feed for the weekend that I'm at one of these events turns into this parade of really
cosplay highlight reels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That is one of my favorite things about the con circuit as well. And I don't do quite that many cons. I would love to, but I do like 2 or 3 cons a year usually, and I love catching photos of cosplayers because it's so cool.
So cool.
It is such a cool thing for people to like put time and effort into, and I love, and especially when it's a fandom that I love walks by, and I'm like,
Yes. For sure, it's just like a little bit weird and random. Like, I mean, you see 100,000 Harley Quinns and Jokers, and nothing against that. That's awesome. No. But every now and then you see one that you're like, I know who that is, and I don't think everyone does, and that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
And like book cosplay has become more and more of a thing, and that's pretty cool to see. Like stuff that still hasn't been made into a movie yet, and was not, not or a comic book yet. Which, like, you tend to get like a lot of comic book cosplay and a lot of movie cosplay, but the book only cosplay is so exciting because it's such an interpretation, right? And then to be able to see it, like, oh, you are totally dressed like this one character that there's not actually a visual for necessarily.
I
find
that's always fun. I saw last year, the year before, at some point somewhere, Polgara the Sorceress from the David Eddings series.
Oh, cool!
Was really cool, and harks back to my teenage years finding fantasy as a genre and being very excited. So that was really cool. And the most recent Armageddon that I went to, I actually had a fan cosplay one of my characters, one of the children of Starlight. And I was like, oh, this is so cool.
That's so exciting.
So yeah, that was very exciting to have someone come up and want to show me what they characters. So,
that's a major life goal for me, is to have someone cosplay one of my characters.
That's very cool.
That's so cool. Yay, I'm so happy for you. That's the best.
When I come over there, I'll cosplay one of yours. How's that? That's
brilliant. That sounds perfect. we'll just all dress up as each other's characters and feel so gratified.
I think that's that works.
Why not? My next question is completely unrelated to the first question, but is another thing that I found very interesting while stalking you on Facebook. You were on the cover of a magazine once. Please tell me about that.
Oh, that was so awkward. But it's like, life goals, tick a box on the bucket list, cover boy. Yeah, that's me. So I work for the Muscular Dystrophy Association here in New Zealand. And one of my role is as a field worker, which essentially just means I go out and meet with people in their homes and help them sort through some of the issues that they're encountering and all that sort of stuff. And the magazine that the organization puts out is called In Touch. And they were doing an issue on kind of that role in the organization and what we do and kind of what you can expect from your field worker. And somehow, I'm not exactly sure how, I got roped into being the face of the field worker service. So yeah, the face of Bo. But actually, so that ended up being me on a cover of a magazine. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. and
was it a specific shoot, or did they like follow you around for a day and take pictures of you while you were working?
No, it was a setup shoot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there was like lighting and reflectors.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. Not quite the whole lights makeup experience, but it was kind of fun.
That's neat. Very cool. That's not something in every author's resume there. The whole like, I was on the cover of a magazine. I have other questions about other stuff that's not always in an author's resume either, that's coming up later. But first, let's see. Oh, I have these in a really weird order. It makes more sense. Actually, let's just jump to it. So the other question I have that is also about things that aren't usually in an author's resume is about your acting career. Please tell me. And this, I actually didn't. I think I found a reminder stalking your Facebook, but we had talked about it once in one of our like friends conversations. But yeah, like you've been in a couple movies.
I've been in a couple TV shows. I haven't done movies. But yeah, I think I showed you a clip of me getting murdered, which is always fun. Yeah.
Look at
So yeah, New Zealand has quite a strong film industry here. You know, Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. We will never let you forget Lord of the Rings. Anytime you talk to a New Zealander or come to New Zealand, we're going to mention Lord of the Rings.
Remember, Lord of the Rings was filmed here.
Yeah, it was. Did you know? Yeah.
It's literally like the only reason a bunch of people have heard of New Zealand. So I don't know if they need the reminder. They're like, yeah, that's why we're here.
Yeah. If you fly into Wellington Airport, we've got Gandalf flying on an eagle, is hanging from the ceiling, and the dragon is there. You cannot miss it, honestly.
That's amazing.
So I wasn't in Lord of the Rings, strangely.
But
yeah, I know, right? But no, we had a few other things filmed here, just a few. So Legend of the Seeker was filmed here, which the name of the book series has gone out of my head, but it's based on books.
Yeah. I wish I could remember, but I can't.
It's completely gone out of my head, but I'm sure a lot of people will know.
Yeah, they'll recognize.
And Spartacus was the other one that was filmed here. So I'm in both of those, and essentially I get cast as henchman number 42 or something to the side, and most of the time blink and you miss me, or you have to kind of squint. And
it's cool that you don't wind up on the cutting room floor all the time, though, because that happens to a ton of extras, right? Like,
that's true.
You know, you'll stand around all day and be in all these shots that you think are going to be in the movie, and they wind up being completely cut. So the fact that you're in at all is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And there's at least one scene where I'm in hundreds of times, because it's actually a shot of, I think it's a quarry that's exploding or something. I'm trying to remember what, I'm pretty sure it was Legend of the Seeker anyway. And anyway, it was a green screen situation. So there's me and I think 2 or 3 other guys,
and they just pasted
in
you
armor, and we're just running across a green screen, and then they just duplicated us. So if you actually watch, you cannot tell it's me at all. It's just from a distance, and there's these hundreds of people panicked running around while things explode.
But it's actually all you and 2 other guys.
And I'm like, at least a third of those is me.
That's amazing.
Damn it, I'm famous.
That's amazing. I'm a third of the people in this scene, and there are hundreds of people in this scene.
I'm hundreds of people right there. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
Movie magic. That's fun.
Yeah.
Very cool.
For the longest time after I was doing it, I haven't done that in a while, but every time I watched a TV show or a movie, I'd be like, oh, they cheated that angle and they did this and they did that. It kind of ruined the magic of it all for me, as I'd seen behind the curtain.
Corey can't watch movies anymore like a normal human. He's just constantly analyzing like what they've done in the shot, and it's just like, sorry dude, bummer for you. But you know, I do, like, I can't watch movies anymore without guessing the plot really early on, which I know is a plight that you share.
Oh yes. Yeah. And yeah, many times, as I mentioned to you before, I get told off because we'll be watching some whodunit, some cop show, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that one did it and here's why, and yeah, Adrian's like, stop doing that. So, oh well.
Do that silently in your head. Yes. Yeah.
And then just be smug afterwards. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I have the same problem. Yeah, it's professional hazard, right? Like, Corey can't stop analyzing how scenes are shot, and I can't stop telling everyone how the plot's going to bang out exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But except that I for the sake of all my friendships and my marriage, I have internalized it. But
yeah. Filter.
Yeah. It's so hard though, because you, like, it's not as fun to like say you were right at the end, because everyone would be like, well, anyone can say that, you know. It's more fun to just be like, no, here's exactly what's going to happen. Like, you've seen this before. I haven't. You know.
Yeah, maybe we need to like write it down and put it
there you go, and then just pass it.
Like,
hand it to you.
This is what I wrote at this point in the show. See if I was right. And I was.
Just like, yeah, like watch, like write it down, write the minute mark, and hand the paper to them. And like, don't look at it because you don't want it spoiled, but this is what's happening.
Exactly. Wait until after the show and then read this and see how accurate I am.
All right. I thought of a new game, Darian. This is going to happen from now on. Okay, so now speaking of things to be smug about and talking a little bit more about writing, why don't you tell me about some of your awards? You've won more than one award. Let's talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate with some of my writing and entering some things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've won the Koru Award here in New Zealand, which is you know what?
Do you have it?
I do actually. This is going to look like I prepared this earlier. I didn't.
It's just on your desk.
I do actually have them just sitting on my desk as little buoy me up when I'm having a down day kind of things.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so here's my Koru Awards.
Ooh. We have two of them.
I have two of them.
Different years, same year, different categories?
Same year. Yeah, different categories. So they did, I think there were 4 categories, and I won 2 of them. Which were the only 2 I was eligible for. So
yeah.
So that was cool. Yeah, I couldn't win all 4.
Yeah, I tried. They wouldn't let me in.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. No, I'm very, very grateful for that. It's actually a romance award, so that's outside of my usual box. And I believe I'm still the only boy to win that. So I'm claiming that as a big triumph. Yep, high five. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
And the other one I've won is Sir Julius Vogel Award.
Ooh, that looks very well. You could kill someone with that one.
This is what we all say. Everyone who says this, and everyone who has one, is like, if you want to break into my house, I will
stab you
absolutely stab you with this. We have strict gun laws here, so this is how
that's what you get.
This is how we fight. So that's kind of cool.
What's the category for that?
This one is actually services to fantasy and science fiction, fantasy, and horror.
Services to. So writing is so good it's a service to others, or you've done things for people? What's that?
I have done some stuff. So I'm kind of involved, I guess, in the writing community here, and I've done some talks and some education-y stuff. And there's a fan convention every year, and I go along to that and chip in and chat and be, nerdy writer boy and talk to people about stuff. And it's fun. So
and apparently people appreciate it. Nice.
So it's kind of nice to have some stuff like that. And I think for writers in general, I think it's nice to have something that verifies that what you're doing is quality and good, and people are liking it. And because it's quite isolating sometimes to be at home with your keyboard just tapping away.
Totally.
And we don't always get a huge amount of feedback, aside from if some wonderful writer posts a review. Thank you everyone who posts reviews.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So it's nice to have little extra things like that.
That's lovely. I mean, I feel like that's why our SPIFBO community was the best thing we got out of SPIFBO, is because it is so isolating otherwise, and suddenly we have like 9 best friends who are all in the same boat, and that's pretty sweet.
Exactly. It's really cool just to have you and the others there just to chat to and bounce ideas off and be like, why can't I make the words go word like?
I want the word.
They're so mean.
Today the words are revolting. Like staging a revolution probably instead of being revolting, but either way works.
You get too righteous and then we immediately start editing our own speech as we go.
Oh god, I do it constantly. And I've tried to just stop doing it to other people, because that, no one likes that. It's not a trait that people enjoy. But I still do it to myself constantly. I can't stop it. So I say something and then I'm like, that wasn't the right word. This would be a better word. And people are like, Virginia, could you just get to your point? I'm like, no, but I have to make it the right way. Words matter.
In fact, come back later. I'll write it down and say
exactly. It's like, give me 5 minutes to think about it. Yeah, well, congrats on all those awards. That's awesome and well deserved. I just recently finished reading Calamon's Rising, and I loved it.
Yay.
And yeah, the characters were so engaging and wonderful, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the whole story. So I don't know if Calamon's Rising was actually involved in any of those awards, but if one of them was a romance award, so presumably not.
It won something else. Yeah.
It won something else. Oh yeah. So
there are others that I don't have trophies for. But.
Yeah. The others that don't provide weapons on your desk.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, certainly any awards you're given are well earned. So that's fabulous. And now we're gonna go back to random questions. We'll talk about writing again a little bit in a minute, but but I'm really enjoying the random questions. So if you don't mind,
fun.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Going back to cosplay, in fact, you once, I think, did a Maleficent cosplay.
I saw that question, and I'm assuming you mean the one with the horns and the black coat.
Was it not Maleficent? Who was it?
I'm happy to go with Maleficent because I can see that now that you've said it. But no, it was literally just, it was Halloween, and I was like
a demon
I'm gonna be a random demon thing. So, and I don't know if the photo you saw probably had a friend of mine in it who also had horns, and that had that was an actual deer skull that they found.
Amazing.
And turned into a headdress. And I was like, okay, well, if we're hitting the town,
I'll put some horns on.
I feel like I need horns too, so I chucked on some horns and a wig and I think it was like a black PVC kind of
something
coat,
yeah,
so it was like some sort of bondage demon, I don't know. a bit of eyeliner or something. A lot of people said I looked like Captain Hook from the TV show at the time with all the fairy tales.
Interesting. With the Once Upon a Time?
Once Upon a Time, yes. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll take that. He's a good looking pirate.
Solid.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
It's not a usual. I don't usually look like a good looking pirate, so I will take that on Halloween and roll with it.
Oh, come on, Darian. You're always a good looking pirate, surely.
Okay. Cool. Yes.
Just a very
This is why we're friends.
Good looking pirate who likes vests and colored shirts. Yeah. You're always a good looking pirate in disguise as a mild mannered
this is my
I say social worker, but that's not, is that accurate? Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. That's good. Well, you can't just swashbuckle around everywhere, because then you get stopped all the time. You never get anything done.
Exactly. You've got to hide your cutlass or whatever it is, and pretend it's a trophy for something.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Just pretend it's some award you got for writing a book or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Who's going to believe
not actually my
murder
weapon that I keep in my belt. Yeah. There you go.
If anyone ends up dead with one of these, it is not me. I just want to clarify, I did not kill anybody with these.
Well, there's a limited pool.
A joke. I'm not the only one with one.
I know that if I'm ever committing a crime in New Zealand, I'm definitely going to borrow one of those. Just steal it quietly, use it for crime, leave it in your backyard.
Cool. Cheers. Appreciate that.
Anytime. I have no plans to commit crime in New Zealand, however. Not that I would even be let in the country right now. So.
No, yeah. Well, you might be able to get a special dispensation if you were willing to go into quarantine for 2 weeks, I think.
I would be willing to go into quarantine for 2 weeks to go to New Zealand and hang out, honestly.
Yeah.
I would do that. And then I'd stay in New Zealand for like 3 months, and then maybe the rest of the world would have itself sorted out by the time I got home.
Do that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I think we've just given special dispensation to the America's Cup teams.
Oh, really?
To come in and do that. So,
but they're going to have to come 2 weeks.
Quarantine. Yeah.
Live that hard quarantine lifestyle. Put up in hotels.
So maybe I'll send them some links to QuaranCon and they can watch the panels.
You should be like, hey guys, while you're stuck in your rooms.
Yeah, since you're in quarantine, here you go.
Enjoy. That'd be great. Thanks. Appreciate it. You've always got my back, Darian. Okay, so so it wasn't Maleficent. But let's talk about fandoms, though. Things that you would dress up as, or have dressed up as, or just things that you enjoy a whole lot. What's your favorite fandom? And I wrote, is it Doctor Who? Because that was my guess, but I don't know.
It's a good guess. That's pretty high on the list, I would say. And yeah, you probably found photos of me going in and out of a TARDIS here and there.
It was the most recurring thing that I saw in the Facebook photo. So that was why it was my top guess. But
yeah,
and because you made your background the inside of a TARDIS once for one of our panels. So.
I did. That's right. Yes. Yeah. No, I am a big Doctor Who fan, and have been for years and years. Way back, the old Doctors. I'm showing my age there. Yeah, Doctor Who, X-Men. You can probably see Rogue there.
Oh yeah,
on the wall.
I couldn't actually see well enough to be sure that it was Rogue, because
picked that up from a supernova somewhere around. I can't remember where in Australia I got that, but I got that somewhere. Awesome. So yeah, she was and much as I love Anna Paquin's Rogue, wonderful. She's a fellow New Zealander, so I have to say that, but also it's true. But I'm like comic book Rogue.
Right.
It's more my cup of tea. When I was teenager or going to university, I think, and color photocopiers were really just becoming a thing. Again, showing my age really badly. I had a photocopy of one of the comics, which was just a full page of Rogue leaning against a red sports car kind of thing, and that was on my wall for quite some time. So, yeah.
Hey, I mean, she was
boys in their cartoons.
Yeah, boys in their cartoons. I loved X-Men when I was younger. Both I read the comics a little bit, but mostly I just watched the Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah. That was always good.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that as a child, but yeah.
I think you can find it again on Disney, whatever Disney streaming channel has it.
Probably Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is what it's called.
There you go.
A lot of people spent a lot of time and got paid a lot of money to come up with that name.
Probably did. And I feel like since we've mentioned it, we should get some sort of sponsorship. Disney,
or we'll get slapped with a lawsuit for mentioning it.
You're one of the two. We're being very positive about it. It's
true. Disney Plus. It's great. You guys should watch it.
Yeah. Send us money.
Yeah. And we're not using any of their stuff, so
no.
I don't think they can yell at us. Although if they own Rogue, you might be screwed. It's on your back wall.
Oh,
playing it.
That may not be Rogue. That may be an off-brand.
I'm totally. I mean, honestly, it's not like this is not a monetized YouTube channel, so I don't know what they're gonna do. I think we're safe. Yeah. I guess worst case, you can't even see what it is. We're just taking your word for it. It's hearsay. Honestly, I don't believe that it is Rogue.
There you go. Yeah. In my mind, it's Rogue. It could be anyone.
Could be anyone. It's just an artist representation.
Yeah.
Okay. So possibly X-Men, Doctor Who's up there. Those are some top fandoms. Have you cosplayed any characters from fandoms that you are a fan of?
I'm trying to think back. I don't think so. No. I'm not.
I'm surprised you haven't tried a doctor, because I feel like the doctor would be, you'd put on a trench coat and a scarf and you would.
Yeah. I think I should do that. And to be fair, I've kind of worn very similar outfits. I could have just said it was. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Do that. Excellent. Yeah, so next time, Darian, I expect you to be dressed as Doctor Who the next time we talk.
Full cosplay. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
All right,
good.
Maybe. Which actually makes me want to jump down to questions about drag, because I feel like cosplay and drag, depending on who's doing drag and why, are actually somewhat similar. The difference being that drag is usually an original character, whereas cosplay is, always a fandom character. So I don't know. I feel like it's one of the main differences. Yeah. So you have you dressed in drag in your life? If so, how many times? And what was your favorite part?
I guess drag, like acting or cosplay, the fun of it is you're someone else for a while and you can unleash the crazy whatever you want to be, which is kind of cool. I don't have the skills to do drag. My best friend is a drag queen and he has amazing skills, and he's done and he's also cosplayed one of my characters.
Nice.
I can't remember if I've showed you a photo of him as Ambassador Ilani from the...
I don't know if I remember, because I hadn't read the book when you showed us. I remember you showing us a picture of your friend in drag, and I can't remember if I knew who Ambassador Ilani was at that point. And so, I know I definitely didn't, so I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't remember if it were. But
so he's very, very good, and I would love to have those skills, but I'm not willing to put the time and effort in to learn them.
But what if he were willing to do it for you? Like,
I could see that working, and I will absolutely admit he and I are the same shoe size.
Oh, there you go.
So I have tried on a number of high heel shoes.
Nice.
And I fully respect anyone who can spend a day wearing those shoes. Drag queen, regular woman, anybody who can walk around in high heel shoes and not be crippled after 20 minutes has my full respect.
It is a special skill set.
It really is. And I watch movies now and you see like the female villain run around in high heels shooting people and doing flips. I'm like, really get some sensible shoes. It's not the footwear to be doing this in. That's crazy.
There are the times when it makes sense, when it's like that you were at this formal event that you didn't expect to turn into a shootout, and so you wound up in a shootout in heels. But there are other times when it's just like you're in your like villain suit, and your villain suit involves 5-inch stilettos, and that seems like a mistake unless you're going to be kicking people directly in the chest very often, with a soft
and you
spot.
sharpen the heels a little bit.
Exactly. Turn them into actual stilettos. Which I could appreciate, using a heel as a weapon. But I find, the thing is that I'm not particularly good at it because I don't do it very often. But I used to do, I took ballroom dance classes for a while. And the weird thing that I found was that it was actually easier to dance in heeled shoes that stay on well. They've got to be strapped on tight than it is to dance in my regular shoes, because it literally keeps you on your toes the entire time. And I found that to be useful in terms of responding to someone else's lead. Is a little bit different when you're doing other things, but like if you're going to be doing everything in a reactive way and being pushed around, I found it actually much easier to be doing that on my toes. And I don't know if that's, I don't think that's an intentional design thing, but I do know that professional ballroom performers do that. I think heels were originally designed for men to show off calves in 16th century France. I'm terrible with dates, but it's something around there.
And I must admit, the friend that does drag will often put on heels and be like, look at this calf.
He's not wrong.
Okay, dude.
He's not wrong at all. That's an absolutely fabulous way to show off anyone's calves. And I think, I'm of this opinion for every article of clothing. I think that anybody should be allowed to wear anything. Like societally, we should just come to accept humans wearing whatever they want. Because men should absolutely have a chance to show off their calves that way, which also doesn't really work unless you're wearing shorts or a skirt. So, you should, or a dress that ends at your knees, but just show off them calves. So just men's calves look great in heels, and that could totally become a thing again. And kilts look amazing. So I'm sure every other form of skirt, and drag queens look amazing, but so do dudes just wearing a skirt because, because they felt like wearing a skirt, which is a thing I appreciate.
Scots have done it for ages.
Exactly.
They make it work.
Ages and ages.
Everyone else.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm very much of that. And makeup and stuff too. I feel like just everybody should be able to do whatever they want, and we should just as a society become more accepting of that.
I must admit, I'm a big fan of the old guy liner
idea. It's a good look.
Yeah, if I could do it without poking my eyeball out, and it worked with my aesthetic, I would 100% do it.
It takes practice. You got to keep trying it. Everyone pokes themselves in the eye the first time they do it. It's not like some secret inherent skill. You just have to practice it. And the difference is that, like, you know, a lot of little girls are encouraged to play with makeup when they're children, and little boys aren't. And so
not so much. Yeah.
You get a lot, like we wind up getting a lot of practice that we may or may not use. And little boys aren't encouraged to do the same thing. So yeah.
So true. But it harks back to my secret emo nature that, you know, if I could have a bit of guy liner, I'd be down for that. A bit of black nail polish.
Do it.
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the only way we're going to get there is by people just starting to say F it and do it, you know. Just like, I like guy liner. I'm going to start wearing it. I like nail polish.
Yeah, who gives a... I was going to say a word that I probably shouldn't say on YouTube.
No, you totally... I don't know. Rob and I cursed a whole bunch.
Are we allowed? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think we're allowed.
Really? Who gives a crap if, you know, gender norms, meh.
They're so lame. They're so crappy. I'm trying not to use lame because it's ableist, but I get that wrong a lot. But yeah, they're dumb. Gender norms are dumb. I think that people should be able to express themselves however they want, and who has time to worry about what other people are wearing and like what makeup they're doing, right? Like it seems like such a misguided.
If you're happy, cool, knock stuff out. What you wear makes no difference to me.
Yeah, right.
Why should I care?
Yeah.
Other than, hey, you look cool.
Yeah. Sometimes, sometimes it adds to the room, and sometimes you're like, well, I could do without that, but all I have to do is look away.
It's not that hard to look away.
Because I have to say, if people were constantly wearing like the Kiss face paint, it has its place, and it's like I love seeing it at in a cosplay scenario. But if everyone did that, if that became like a serious fashion where like the majority of people were doing like that level of face paint, it would start to freak me out. I think like part of my brain would be like, I'm surrounded by people who look kind of like clowns, and clowns scare me. So I would just
the scary clown thing. Yeah, I guess I see that. But I think it'd be kind of fun. But it would start to get hard to be like to recognize who's who. It's like,
you'd have to do
no, you painted your face different today. I don't recognize you anymore.
Yeah. But at any rate, but still, I would just be like, whatever, everybody do what you want, because do what you want.
Why not?
But I am afraid of clowns. So if clown face paint became a common thing, I would probably not leave my house too much. But I'd be like, clowns everywhere, But I wouldn't stop doing it. I would just change my behavior so I didn't have to experience it.
Or you'd learn to be
I'd
less
probably
scared.
Get used to
it. You'd get used to it. Yeah. It's the tattoo thing is the other one, I guess, that kind of I find strange that there are still workplaces that are like, you can only work here if your tattoos are covered, and I'm like, really? Do we still care about that?
Yeah,
really?
Seriously. That's such a weird holdover, because we're now in the age where like we're all adults, and like I have 7 ear piercings, and I don't know. But my mom freaked out. She's like, when you're gonna get old, and you're gonna wish you didn't have those. And I'm like, no, when I get old, everyone's gonna have these. Like that's just like
I laugh so much about the whole, when you're old, and people say that about tattoos as well. I don't actually have any tattoos, but that's just because I'm too indecisive. But
I don't have a tattoo yet, but I'm fixing that this year.
But the whole, but how's it going to look when you're 85 or something? It's like, I'm going to be old and saggy at 85 anyway, tattoo or not. What difference is it going to make if there's a saggy tattoo in the mix?
Exactly. And also, like, I'm pretty sure if I can think of one thing that a lot of 85-year-olds have in common, it is that they have 0 fucks left to give, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I can't imagine getting to 85 and being like, oh, now I'm self-conscious about my tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, who cares?
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how
it was here, now it's down here. Suck it.
It's It's an elbow tattoo now, boy.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, so I don't know, people get weird about weird things, a lot of which comes back to, unfortunately, a lot of ingrained bias in people about cultures and and gender norms and all that stuff, which
we kind of absorb them without thinking about them,
and
it's not until we actually stop and challenge those assumptions and kind of go, why am I uptight about that? Why did we get taught about that? Is it actually relevant? Nah.
Nope. Okay, so I'm gonna steer us back to the question, only because
that was a sidetrack. That was great.
I like that sidetrack though. I thought that was a good sidetrack. Hopefully other people will enjoy it too. I don't even know, I haven't actually checked to see if anyone's actually watching right now. 4 people, yay.
Hi 4 people.
Hi 4 people. Oh yeah, and actually there are some comments too. We've got Misty's here because Misty's awesome and she shows up for everything. Love you, Misty. Hi.
Yay.
And AF Stewart is here too. And she did once kill a character with a trophy and a rubber chicken. And detachable stiletto heels that turn into knives, she's saying, is probably what we should do for those characters we're talking about. I think that's a good call.
Okay.
Yeah. Really.
There's an assassin coming out of this somewhere in one of our books, isn't there? A trophy knife shoe.
I have actually on my current work in progress. One of my characters has a little hunko, which is the little name stamp from Japan's it's a seal that's used to sign your name, basically. But it's got a retractable knife in it, and it's her fidget, she just constantly running it through her fingers. This is the antagonist, actually. She just is always flipping it through her fingers, and then later on it'll be useful that she can stab people with it.
Am I gonna rubber stamp you, or am I gonna stab you through the hand?
yeah
Only time will tell.
But it's one of those things, because in everyone has them, because that's how people sign their names, and so everyone, no one thinks twice about it, and no one would take it off you probably if they were they were patting you down or whatever. Anyway, so but it's there. That's actually not even an assassin character. My assassin character just hides all manner of shit in her obi, so that's because that's what wide belts are good for. With layers too, so many layers to an obi. You could put an entire arsenal in there and no one would notice, as long as they were relatively flat blades.
And then you're just kind of spinning as it unwinds and flinging knives as they come loose.
I think you just you would reach in and pull them out. That would be kind of.
I like my version better.
It's an interesting thought. To the top killer and
hold the end of this. I'm gonna spin and just fling knives. It's great.
Try that. See if I can work that in. Okay. Let's see. Okay, you have a beautiful Siamese in your profile pic.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that cat and then and any other cats, because I'm not actually clear on how many cats you have. All the cats. Let's talk about all the cats.
At the moment, I just have the one cat.
Yeah.
So the Siamese was lovely. We had her for 16 years, and her name was Caspia. Mainly, when we went to get the cat, we had pre-imagined that we were going to name it Caspian, after Prince Caspian from the Narnia books.
Right.
And we had in our, I don't know why, looking back, I can't remember why, but we had in our mind that we were going to get a boy cat. Yeah. But when we got there were these 2 little kittens there. And there was the boy that we thought we were going to get, who was a little... He was lovely, but he was a bit wimpy. He wasn't my cat. Yeah, he wasn't our cat. And Caspia was just all over us. She was climbing over us. She was really friendly and adorable. And so we're like, okay, well, we're going to take her and we're just going to
cut off the
lop the N off the end and call that a feminized version of the name, and we're just going to roll with that.
You can also do Caspian with an E-N-N-E or whatever.
Could, yeah.
That's really late advice.
Yeah. I'll just jump in the TARDIS, pop back 20 years and let myself know. Thanks. But yeah, so she was a real sweetie, but eventually, yeah, as does happen with all cats, unfortunately, got to an age that she could not go on. But we were very fortunate in some ways in that we got a heads up about what was happening.
Oh yeah.
With her, so the vet kind of gave us that notice and said, you know, it's probably time. We could put her to sleep now, or you can take her away and reschedule that, or you can just wait. But probably what's going to happen if you let it go naturally is that she's going to have a really unpleasant exit from life. So we didn't want that. So we took her home and we gave her the best week any cat has ever had in its life.
Aww.
She got pampered like you would not believe.
Yeah.
And hopefully gave her a kind exit from this world.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we feel very, we miss her very much. She was, yeah. And then we got two black cats who were siblings. And when they were kittens, couldn't tell them apart, aside from one was male and one was female. So we color coded their collars so that we could figure out which was which, until they got a little bit bigger. And that was Apollo and Athena.
Oh, nice.
We named them after gods, and they clearly thought they were.
Cats really, I mean, you're not far off. Like I named my dog after a god, and that's kind of humorous, but cats are generally up there. They expect
set in their divinity. Yeah. So yeah, and it was kind of weird. They got along really, really well as kittens. But Athena is a cat who holds a grudge. And as they grew, Apollo, being the male, got a bit bigger and was a bit boisterous. And she didn't really like to play as much as he did. And he got himself caught. It's kind of funny looking back, but he got himself caught in a paper bag, a shopping bag. And he wouldn't stop to let us get him out of it. He just had the handle around his neck and he was running up and down the house with this bag flapping after him. And obviously, I mean, probably quite scary for him. And eventually we managed to get him and sort him out. But it frightened her, something shocking. So, and she never forgave him, never forgave him after that.
Just like after that would not be in the same room with him?
Yeah, she's like, every time she saw him, she'd growl. And we're like, oh, geez, what's going on here? And then unfortunately, probably a year or two ago, he passed away. It just was out on the neighbor's deck sunning himself and died. And
oh, geez.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure why. We think maybe it might have been a heart condition or something. So, so obviously we miss him as well, but and everybody kind of said
Athena
to us, Athena does not. So everyone was like, oh, Athena must be so upset that her friend is gone.
You're like, no.
She's really happy, actually.
Oh,
so yeah, she's a solo cat household now and very loved.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she's very loved. I'm so sorry about. I probably, if I'd known that there was going to be that much sadness and death in the cat stories, I might not. I
yeah, sorry, that was a big downer, wasn't it? I'm sorry for the animal lovers out there, but this is reality.
Cats die, dogs die, like pets pass away. As do humans, like everyone dies in the end. So, sorry, spoiler alert, everybody.
Speak for yourself.
What do you know? Or do you have a TARDIS? So I guess that takes care of that then.
Yeah, but absolutely. So yeah, it is what it is. But we love our pets, and they're worth the heartbreak.
Yeah, life without them would not be as meaningful for me anyway. My dog brings a lot of joy to my life, and the cat that I had growing up, who died when she was 15, and I'd had her since I was 3, and I was 18 when she passed, and that was also that was very sad. But she was also like, she brought so much joy to my life. I would never in a million years give that up. So what are you gonna do? Pets are important.
Exactly. Yeah, and even though she sounds like a really affectionate fire alarm, the way she meows at me. And I still love it a bit, even when that's in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, they have their moments, right?
Yeah.
Um, I have too many tangents I could go on there, so I'm going to refocus back to the questions. Let's talk about some causes that are important to you. You work in muscular dystrophy awareness and help. It sounds like
Yeah.
assistance, like you assist people with muscular dystrophy. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I assume that's one of them. But yeah, what are some causes that are important to you?
Yeah, that's probably the big one for me, and that comes from a place of my wife has muscular dystrophy, so that was something that we discovered a little bit later in life. We had a few signs looking back of things that were happening, but for her it was more of an adult onset thing, and we didn't know that was in her family history, and it wasn't until she and her sister and her mum all got diagnosed at once.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so, and that was this particular condition is myotonic dystrophy. So there's something like 9 different kinds of muscular dystrophy, and that's the more common one. But it gets worse with each generation.
Oh, really?
So her mum didn't really notice until she was quite, a bit older. Whereas Adrian started to show symptoms probably around 20-ish, but we didn't really know that that's what that was, and didn't get diagnosed until, I don't know, probably in her 30s, I think. And yeah, by then some weird stuff had been happening that we didn't really know what was the cause of. It had some miscarriages and things like that. Looking back with the knowledge we now have, we're like, oh, right, that's what that was. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, yeah, but it's definitely something that, has been close to my heart for a while. And, the whole disability thing, I guess, really is something that I'm quite passionate about and aware of. And just, I think we often forget, or it's hard to think about sometimes, I think, is what it comes down to. Like, it's really difficult to go, what would this be like for me if my body didn't do what I expect it to do? And most of us would rather not think about that, and I can understand that. But there are people who don't have that option, and so kind of how do we make our environment work for people who can't necessarily do everything that we can do? I think is something that's really important for everyone to think about. So yeah, it's something that I'm always aware of, and it's one of those things that is really easy to think you're doing well and discover you're not doing it quite as well, because everybody's needs are different. So it's that ongoing thing, and constantly learning and not beating yourself up if you've done something that doesn't necessarily suit somebody's needs, but try and be a bit adaptive, I guess.
It is interesting how little awareness we tend to have about disabilities most of the time. Like I used to think that I was aware of it, and then I had my daughter, and when she was little, I would push her around in a stroller everywhere. And it wasn't until I started doing that I realized, holy cow, Winnipeg is not a disability friendly city at all. Like, it's not a wheelchair friendly town. There are so few buildings that you can actually go into that have 0 steps, or an alternative to the steps that is marked and lets you know about it. Because there are some places that technically you can get into if you do go around the back of the building and come in, and then there's a service elevator or something you can do. But can you
come around the back and we'll let you in through the kitchens? And,
and you're like, really? That's your accommodation for disabled people? That's so, and I considered myself aware of these things because I was like, yes, these things we should make it so that everybody can live their life as simply as possible without having to depend on people that they may not have around them, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, you get someone to push you. Like, no, you can't. There's not always someone there.
And do you want that? Do you want someone else to be controlling the direction that you go in and the speed that you go and your whole movement? That's a bit...
right? Yeah, and so it just is, it was really frustrating to encounter that as a perfectly able-bodied person who was just trying to get a stroller around town. And then, but it made me very much more aware of, because I was then like, okay, yeah, so like I think this is inconvenient, but to me it's literally just an inconvenience. For a lot of people, it is absolutely changes the way they live their lives, and that is so crappy.
One
And
of the oh, sorry.
No, that was pretty much the point. Just like like to and then looking back on it and like and just thinking about how unaware of it I was until it inconvenienced me personally. And then again, and that it was just an inconvenience, whereas to so many people it's an actual barrier. And just like, and I had a little brain meltdown about thinking of my ableism and the fact that I was not aware of those things, you know, and like, and now I'm just trying to do better. So that's like,
it's one of the stories I often tell people, which really struck that home to me, was early on when I started in my day job, and we wanted to do like a staff meal out at a restaurant, and I was like, okay, as a lot of people would do, and we rang the restaurant and we were like, okay, so we're going to have some people who are in wheelchairs and power wheelchairs and stuff. We need to know that you're accessible. You know, can they get in? And they were like, yeah, completely accessible, absolutely fine, everything's great. And we rocked up and there was a step in the door. And these people stepped over that step every single day on their way into work, and they didn't see it. They just didn't see it because they never had to. And it's not until you have to see it, or someone that you love is affected by it, and you then start to see these little barriers that most of us literally will step over every single day and not be aware is even there.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like, okay, this is, and even when you're trying, there was a big public transport hub that was built a number of years ago here in Auckland, and I went in and I was like, I'm gonna check out the disability, accessibility stuff. And I went into the accessible bathrooms there, and they were lovely and spacious, and they were great, and they had rails, and they had everything that whoever had designed it thought anyone with a disability could possibly need, and there was braille on the signs and everything, which was really cool. And then I went to leave, and the door was so heavy, so heavy. And I'm like, I'm struggling to open this myself. How is somebody with muscular dystrophy or any kind of arm?
And there was no button, like
there was no button. They fixed it now, but at that time I was like,
but that's amazing, right? Because you've got like this like super accessible, amazing, like purposely designed space, and then
and just one simple little thing that gets forgotten, and you've got some poor person trapped in there for the rest of the day.
Oh gosh, that's so
wow.
Yikes. But that stuff happens all the time, way more often than, I mean, I'm sure you're way more aware of it than I am. I'm way more aware of it now than I was, but like, and just so many
people who actually have the conditions are way more aware of it than I am.
Of course. Of course, because well, thank you for doing that work, and for and I understand why you're passionate about it. That is it's an important thing that needs to be done.
That's important.
Yeah, it's important. Okay, sorry. I'm just looking at my questions again, and I do want to actually. We've now been talking for an hour, and we haven't talked too much. I know it flies, right? We haven't talked too much about books, so let's talk about books. We'll start by talking genre. Fantasy mystery is kind of a less common genre, but it's a wonderful genre. So what made you want to write it specifically?
It's kind of a weird, it just sort of came to me, and I had been watching a lot of like cop shows and mysteries and that sort of stuff, and my main genre that I love to read is fantasy, and any story, if you chuck a bit of magic in it, is better. I mean, that's my theory.
That's how I feel about it.
So
I will admit being a bit biased.
So that was kind of how it came about, and I had been working on another project for 100 million years, and had finally given myself a deadline where I was like, okay, you have to finish it by this date, and then whether it's done or not, you're doing something else. And so, yeah, the something else that came to me was, what if I took, an investigative team along the lines of your CSI, your whatever police procedural show you like, but it was in a fantasy world, and not just an urban fantasy, a traditional fantasy with magic and swords and all of that kind of stuff. And how would that be? And that could be fun. So yeah, I had fun with it, and still am having fun with it. So yeah, hopefully readers are enjoying it.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a fun read, and that's kind of the thing. I don't usually read too many police procedural type books because I don't really care about anything contemporary settings. Like it's never that fun for me, right? So I would definitely read more mystery and more crime-esque, like all that stuff, if it were in a fantasy setting. And I know it's a genre that does exist. It's not like you're not the first person to do it, but or the only person doing it now. But it's not as common as you might like to see, because as I might like to see, because I really enjoy reading that. But I do know, like I'm a huge fan of the October Day series by Sean McGuire. And she's sort of supposed to be a detective in the realm of fairy. And so that's like, but she's kind of like a PI, and she's not particularly good at it, but she's just like, anyway, it's a good series. It's entertaining. And it is like, it follows the mystery tropes for each book. And I really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of other examples in that genre, but that's kind of one of the only ones I can come up with that I've read recently, aside from Calanon's Rising. Yeah, anyway, just something like, it's really fun. I seem to always enjoy it when I come across it. Like if I'm reading, I don't want to read about crime unless it's in a fantasy setting. But if it's in a fantasy setting, then I'm down,
Then it's cool, yeah. It's one of those things, I think, there's with a murder mystery kind of thing, it gives you that promise that the bad guy's going to get his comeuppance at the end, kind of thing, and I like that. I'm looking for that. And so and if you have that, and there's magic and there's adventure, cool. What's not to like about that? I'm into that. It's
pretty neat. I also like that you've done it in a way, like the world in Calanon's Rising is like, it's not, there's not actually a police state. There's a monarchy, but but there's not like it's not like there are actual cops. And it seems like this investigative team is kind of like the first of its kind in a particular culture, which is kind of neat. And that their job really is like, they're just there to solve crimes. They're not there to like police anybody. They're there to solve crimes, which is great and fun. And I enjoyed so many things about it.
Excellent.
A good read. So then, talking about your books, you have the Calanon's Rising series. You also have written at least one paranormal romance-ish, but that's also mystery-esque. Is that right?
Kind of. Yeah. There's it's a little bit mystery. It's a little bit thriller. It's a little bit urban fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah. It's essentially the main character is escaping from an abusive relationship, and it's set here in New Zealand, and she basically runs away to this house that has been in her family for generations, and that's going to be her hideout to recalibrate her life. And what she doesn't realize is that there's a history to that house and her family that is a bit on the mysterious side, and the people in this town, some of them are aware of it and aren't necessarily thrilled to have her back or a member of her family back. And there's a ghost in the house, and stuff happens.
That's right. Don't give it away.
Yeah, I'm not going to give too much away, but so there's stuff for her to discover and find out, and there's some mysterious stuff. And then there's the hunky next door neighbor who happens to be a handyman and helps her fix up the house. So.
is there much beyond ghost that's fantastical about it, or is it pretty much you can just like a vague yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Say yes. It's not just the ghost.
Not just the ghost. I'm just curious. Like that's really, it's neither here nor there. But for my own personal curiosity, like I was like, I enjoy ghost related fiction and stuff, but again, like the less contemporary a setting is in terms of like there being more magic and more things that are weird or quirky, like I'm always a fan of that. But
yeah, there's a bit of other stuff in there that's going down.
Cool.
And that was one of the fun things that I had with it was so the house has no electricity for reasons that you'll find out. And
reasons that are very convenient to the plot.
That are relevant. But it meant that I could do fun things like wipe out cell phones for the most part. And
nice.
Things
because her phone's just never charged.
Exactly, because of the mysterious magic of the place that doesn't seem to like electricity.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's odd things happening, and there's cats. There's cats.
Yes. Oh, that actually. Okay, this brings me to another random question, but that I'm going to go ahead and ask now, even though we're still talking books. But it was the last question though, and it's a good one as a last question. What to do? But it's totally related. How much more time do you have to talk to me? That's an important question. First,
I've got all day.
You got all day. All right. Cool.
Yeah. In New Zealand, it's still morning. Oh no, it's gone after 12. So, but
no, it's in the afternoon. Okay. So no, okay. I'm going to save that question for later because I do think it's a good ending question, just because it's quirky. But it was related to the cats thing. But we'll get there.
I love the way you say it's a quickie, but so far we've managed to stretch out a lot of these questions.
I think I'm going to have to skip a bunch of these, honestly. I know it's like, and I feel a little bad skipping more about writing stuff, but I honestly I'm enjoying the quirkier questions. If there's anything I did not give you this question, so be prepared. Curveball.
Uh-oh. What are you doing?
Going off script, man. It's gonna be horrendous.
Where's my agent? Pull the plug.
If there's anything, oh gosh, I have a parading 3-year-old coming in. Hi. Hey. You have a pool noodle. Now I have a pool noodle. Welcome to my life.
We'll say that's the microphone, and she's your sound person.
That's right. Yeah. She's got the boom mic out. I'm actually, because it's already been over an hour and I do still want to get to some random questions.
Right.
So let's condense the authorial bits. If you had to sell your writing to someone, and I know you write fantasy in general and mystery in general-ish, like what are some themes that you keep coming back to? Give me like 3 things that you think if people enjoy these 3 things, they would enjoy your work.
Oh, you did throw me a curveball, didn't you?
I did. I'm sorry. I know that's actually a hard question.
That's a tricky one.
Sorry. You want me to I could juggle for a little bit while you think about it?
I would like to see you juggle pool noodles.
I wish I could. That is quite impressive. It's hard to juggle things that are light. Like you need a bit of heft to.
That's true.
Properly.
I don't know if there probably are themes throughout, and I know certainly in my short stories and stuff, there are themes around. Like my parents split up when I was young, so there's father issue stuff that comes up from time to time, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so predictable.
There seem to be daddy issues actually in. I'm jokingly calling them daddy issues, but issues with father figures in Fandoms Rising as well.
There is, yes, that's very true. So you do get that kind of stuff slipping in there, and
that's how writing works, I think, honestly.
It is, and it's hilarious because I come from a therapy background, so counseling and family therapy, and so I'm like, I should totally be aware of this stuff and totally,
do it on purpose.
Be falling down that rabbit hole, but nevertheless, it happens just the same. because who knew I was human?
Mm.
What? Uh, so yeah, and I guess also just, some of the stuff around kind of where you've been and where you're going. Like a lot of my characters have that conflict of
Yeah.
in Kalinon's Rising, it's who were they in the war versus who do they want to be now.
Yeah.
And in Currents of Change, she's coming from that abusive relationship, and now it's like, who do I want to be now that I'm not with him, and what do I want my life to be? And I guess there's kind of that existential question that I guess we all wrestle with our whole lives long.
Down to the choices we
ongoing,
make.
It's that ongoing recreating ourselves throughout our entire lives. So I guess there's a bit of that in there. I don't know if that's something people look for in a book.
But it's funny.
But you'll find it.
People don't often, I think, consciously look for themes, like, and I would say, like, it's totally legit to be unaware of them while you're writing, because I feel like they're very much an afterword, like they're a retrospect thing, right? Like I look at my books after having written them and I'm like, okay, there's this theme and there's this theme and there's this theme, but I don't have themes planned out in advance. Like I feel like it's too much about subtext to be something that you can plan. I don't know, maybe some people can plan it and do. I don't. It happens accidentally, but then I can recognize them afterwards at least, like,
yeah.
So and so I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one I was probably most aware of as I was writing Kalinon's Rising was that whole loyalty thing and right and wrong. And that's one of the main conflicts for Brannon in particular is, at what point does your loyalty to your friends or your king or your whatever flip and become a bad thing if they're doing things that you don't necessarily agree with? And when does duty usurp your own sense of morality or not? And that kind of stuff. So
those are good. I mean, those are interesting questions, so worth exploring in fiction.
Indeed, I think so. And we're very highbrow with our fantasy.
So highbrow. So I think I'm gonna have to dip down deep for the next question. You went rock climbing one time, according to these photos. Did you ever try it again? Did you enjoy it?
I went rock climbing several times actually, but probably I think there's a few photos of basically just my butt up a wall.
Pretty much all anyone gets. That's there's a lot of climbing photos, and they're just all of my ass. So
heaps of fun. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it. But I've not gone for ages because I got like tennis elbow for some reason. Never played tennis, but I got tennis elbow. So it's
a weird name for a condition that can be caused by many things other than
right. Yeah. So. Go figure. But now that you've raised that, I'm like, actually, elbow feels pretty good. This might be a thing I could get back into.
Yeah, good, because then when I come visiting, you can take me around. There's apparently some amazing climbing in New Zealand, like outdoor climbing. So
I've not done the outdoor climbing because I'm scared.
If you make the right friends at the climbing gym, they'll take you out and they'll slowly introduce you to it, and then you'll be great and you'll love it. Maybe you may never love it, and you can just keep climbing in a gym. That's fine too. It's no judgment.
Our gym's really good. It's got two sides. So it's got the grown-up side with more rock-like handholds and things, and itty-bitty teeny finger holds if you take the crazy climbs. And then it's got the kids' side, which is like, a fairy tale wall and stuff like that. And initially I was like, I'm an adult. I'm going on the adult side. And then after the first couple of times, I was like, let's just go over to the kids' side today. And we had so much more fun. Because it
turns out rock climbing is actually really hard. This was a misconception that I had when I first started, and I started in my 20s. But before the very first time I went climbing, I had my best friend in high school was a climber since she was like a child, and she's really good. She's got like world records and stuff. Anyway, she was like, well, we could go to this one area, but it's a little hard. Like, I don't know. And I legit didn't understand that I would not be able to get off the ground if we went to the hard area, like I was like, what is this? It's like, it's like a better workout or something, but not like no, it's like legit, you can't do it. There are just levels, and yeah. And so then I became a total climbing bum, and like now the rating systems are just a part of my speech. Corey makes fun of me all the time for talking in climbing jargon, and so I'm trying not to do it right now because it's the weirdest set of words. If you're not a climber, they don't make any sense.
It is so cool. Like, and I go there, and there are people who are literally just leaping and grabbing the tiniest little things with just their fingertips, and I'm like, are you Spider-Man? What is going on? But it's really cool. Whereas the first time I went out, and I had a great time, and I climbed to the top numerous times, and I was very proud of myself. And then towards the end, I was like, I'm getting a little bit tired, and I climbed, and my arms stopped. I was nearly at the ceiling, and my arms just went, nah, screw you, you can die.
Yeah.
Just fell. I mean, thank goodness, you have the safety gear and you've got somebody at the bottom holding your rope. I was just like, that's not supposed to happen. Why are my arms not working anymore? And it's like, oh, this is a workout. This is serious.
It's a really good workout. It's my favorite. I miss climbing so much. I used to climb so often, and like being in good climbing shape is like such a great thing to be in because everything's so much easier. Like suddenly you're just like, you're lifting very large, very heavy things, and it's no big deal. And people are like, how can you do that? And I'm like, what? It's lighter than I am. And that's my standard.
And you're doing it with your pinky.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, I'm used to being able to hold all my weight like this. So anyway, a lot of it's balance and flexibility and stuff too, but it's just like, I love it. But it's been a while. Having a 3.5-year-old is not the most conducive thing to it, although I really want to get her climbing, and then we can go together, and I'll still be a while before I can do harder stuff.
Well, come here, and you can do the adult side, and I'll take her to the fairy tale wall, and we're good.
Deal. Sold.
Cool.
Okay, my household is falling apart, so I am going to ask you, might just jump. Let's see. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions.
Okay.
And so I'm skipping a lot of these. My apologies. Oh man, I really wanted to talk to you about cakes. But
cake.
Huh?
That's why I love cake, but that's why I need to go
climbing
to burn the cake off.
Well, I was going to ask about making cakes and how you got into it.
In all honesty,
is there a success?
I'll do it really short. Okay. I won't do it short. I lied. we watched the show on Netflix, Nailed It, where people try to bake fancy cakes and things and make a complete mess. And I was like, the whole time, like, oh, that's silly. I could do so much better than that. I could do better than that. And Adrian is wonderful, and I love her. And she's like, cool, let's put your money where your mouth is. And so for my birthday, bought me a whole lot of cake baking and decorating stuff. Because she knew I actually was quite into that.
Yeah.
So I had got to play with that and baked and decorated some cakes. But the danger then is that I then eat the cakes, and that is not.
That's an upshot.
It's pluses and minuses.
I think it's all to the good. Eat the cakes. Life is short. Eat all the cake.
That's a good motto.
Okay, so you did answer that question. Oh gosh, I have so many good questions I have here at the end, but I feel like we don't really have time for all of them. Well, let's try to do a lightning round. Okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world for a month, where would you go and why?
Greece, because I studied ancient Greece and I like the ruins.
Lovely. That's a good answer. Not that there are any bad answers to that, really. Tell me about the picture of you sitting in a wheelchair looking ready to race.
Oh, yeah. So that was part of my work with Muscular Dystrophy Association and some other disability stuff. And we beat the world record for the longest chain of people in wheelchairs.
Oh, cool.
So there were a lot of people who actually use wheelchairs, and there were some of us who just grabbed a random wheelchair and jumped on.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. Which cake are you most proud of and why that you've made?
Ooh, probably the tree one that was well, my intention was for it to be reminiscent of Teldrassil from World of Warcraft. I don't know if it
Nice.
necessarily comes across like that, but it took a heck of a lot of time to pipe all of those little leaves and
I have to go back and look at it now
glitter,
that I know it's supposed to be Teldrassil. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Brilliant. Love it. What are some things about New Zealand that you doubt anyone else is even aware of?
Ooh, do you guys have pineapple lumps?
Pineapple lumps?
Yeah. Okay, so it's a distinctly New Zealand candy, basically. So it's a pineapple flavored something, chewy something, I don't really know what, coated in chocolate.
Oh.
It is a delicacy. Come here and you will eat pineapple lumps.
It sounds amazing. I love pineapple, and I would love something kind of pineapple-y covered in chocolate. That sounds delicious.
There you go. I don't know why we call it pineapple lumps. Like, that doesn't sound the most appealing as food, but nevertheless.
Amazing. What is the movie you most often quote with your friends?
Oh, probably Princess Bride would be one that comes in a lot.
That's the one I most often quote with my friends. But
yeah, there's a lot of stuff about the fire swamp gets quoted.
Amazing. And finally, this was the question I was going to ask earlier. I love this. I love this question. I don't know if you will or not. If you could pick an animal companion for yourself as a character in a fantasy novel, what would it be and why? So you're a character in a fantasy novel. You have to pick an animal companion.
Like an animal companion. I feel like it's really boring to say a cat because clearly I've established that I'm a cat lover already. And if I'm in a fantasy world, really, are you going to go with cat? Some sort of magical cat.
Yes. Imagine a fire-breathing cat.
Yeah.
With wings.
Yeah.
That's basically
it can like grow to a good size and then I can ride it in an emergency or something.
Yay. Excellent. Yeah, that sounds like a great choice. Great choice. Okay, well, it's been an hour and 25 minutes, and we did actually, because of the lightning round, get through that. So that's all my random questions for you. I hope it was entertaining for you. I was entertained. I hope people watching are entertained. Let me just check. We didn't get any additional comments beyond the detachable stiletto heels and stabbing people. So I think we're gonna call that.
Scared them off.
Good. They're still there, I think. The same people, but they just haven't said anything yet. So thank you so much, Darian, for taking time out of your day to talk with me. And where can people find your books? The Cullinan's Rising is linked in the description to this video, but where can people find your other books? Where can you be found around the internet? Oh, very good.
Yeah, Amazon. My website is Darian-Smith. Darian-Smith.com. Darian spelled Darian. Or you can look me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. On those two, I'm Darian Wordsmith. Nice.
It's a delightful play on words, by the way, or play on your name. I don't even know if it's really a play on words, but I like the insertion of word into your name. I feel like you should legally change your name to be Darian Word Smith.
I should. That would
all
be
sorts
cool.
Of reasons. But anyway, I'm weird, and that's well established. So
we like that.
Anyway, thanks so much. I wish that we had more time, but I think my family's collectively losing their minds. So I'm gonna go hang with them. Also, it's one of my friend's birthdays, and we're gonna hang with her this evening. So
happy birthday, whoever that is.
Better get going. Yeah, my friend Tanya. Everyone can say happy birthday to Tanya.
Happy birthday, Tanya.
So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe the next time you got a release coming or anything.
That'd be great. Cool. Thanks. It's been fun.
Thanks, Jared. Bye. I'm just gonna do